Grace in Chaos.
Grace in Chaos. Grace in Chaos. Grace in Chaos.
Grace in Chaos.
Grace in Chaos. Grace in Chaos.
Hello, I'm Katrina.
And I'm Kaylee.
And this is Grace in Chaos.
Episode 14.
Woo, woo, woo. I think every time I go woo woo woo, it reminds me of like, you know that DJ when it, yes, basketball games. I feel like we should have that buzzer.
I think we have a sound. I can do it. I can make it happen.
Yes, I was like, technology's got to be on our side with that one. Come on.
I don't know. Am I on our side with that one is the issue. Guys, I am the editor.
Yeah,
Editor-in-chief.
Special shout out to Kaylee who makes this ship sail, literally.
Katrina's here for the vibes.
Oh
and
gosh.
opinions. She's full of opinions.
I'm the talent, okay?
Speak to my manager.
I show up and I'm done.
Good for you. I want that life. Just kidding. I actually do. So I'm realizing I actually had the thought, I don't know that I will ever be able to let someone else edit anything for us because I'm such a control freak, which I didn't realize I was. Like, I've never really been, I've been like, nah, but like the idea of somebody else being able to control the perception of us, like, because there are certain things. Oh, listen, when we're editing this, there'll be certain things that like I say and I'm like, that is not how I meant that to come out.
No, totally.
Or like Katrina will say something and I'm like, I know you don't actually believe that, but the way that it like in the
same thing, like the
line
way
of the way it was said or like the context, I'm like, I know where you were going, so we edit those out.
Thank you.
Get rid of it. So
You're good. How was your week?
it was good. We so I told you guys that my dad got into the terrible bike accident a couple weeks ago. So because he was like that, like near-death experience always makes people look at what they value in life and like really cherish it, I guess you would say. And we hadn't gotten all of us kids together in like, I'm not kidding you, 15 years.
Probably your wedding, actually.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
that's different.
that was pure chaos.
No, like the setting of a wedding isn't like bonding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I actually forgot that we were all together.
I mean, it's all about love.
Yeah, and everyone, sure. Was it though?
Your love.
Yes. No, so it was, my wedding was the last time, but then like since we've all been under the same roof hanging out, it's been 15 years. And so I actually coordinated once Dad got into the accident. I called my brother and was like, hey, could you come down? Like, are we able to make this happen? And he was so cool, was able to move things out of the way. Mind it, he's a firefighter, so they were able to make it work. His girlfriend came down. Love her. It was cool having me, my husband, my kids, my brother, his girlfriend, my step siblings all there. And my kids, I'm not kidding you, got in the pool every day at 8 a.m. and we would have to drag them out to eat lunch and take like an hour movie break. And then they'd go put on a new bathing suit and be back in the pool until dark. And they are very, very tan. My husband doesn't like me to call them tan, but they are like, I was like, you guys just got like,
What other word do I use?
that's what he's like, they're black. Like, that's his words. I'm like, okay, but they're still half white. Like, that's my side. The white's a tan.
When my skin gets darker, I call it a tan.
Yes. And so their white side got more tan this weekend. I don't know what happened to their black half, but regardless, they are so dark and they were so wiped out. Yesterday, I asked them when we got home. It was like our first day home and I was like, hey guys, do you want to go to the splash pad this afternoon? Kalia was like, we've been in the pool for 3 days, mommy. I don't want to go. I was like, fair enough. So
That's too funny. It reminds us, when we lived in Texas, that was literally our schedule. It was like, wake up, do a little bit at home, go to the pool, like get some fresh air. It was so hot.
that was when Levi was
take
like,
a nap. Oh yeah.
oh my gosh, he was so tan. He was getting those little white spots on him because
Yes.
he was so tan with his bleach blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you guys go to the pool? Like, do you have a pool? Community
it's
pool?
so bizarre because the weather is similar. You know what I mean? It's hot.
Yeah.
We're in the desert, but there are no pools. I want to say it's probably liability or something like that. Like even technically, I don't know. Like we're not in an HOA or anything like that. So,
Well, that might be why there is none.
correct. Yeah, that's probably it. I was gonna say because there are pools that exist, just like in our little neighborhood hub, there's none. None of our friends have one. No, except our friend does. She lives in an apartment and she lets us use her pool. And
Is that the walk-in beach
Yes.
style? Yeah.
those are my favorite. And like the kids are comfortable there, and it's a good pool. It reminds me of the pool that we had in Texas too. 'Cause it was
Yeah. That Texas pool was incredible. They had like, it was full on, which is weird because it's a community pool, but it had full on slides, splash pad, swimming
Lifeguards.
lanes. Yeah. They were
They
12.
were the stereotypical teenage lifeguards where you're like, oh, they're dating. They're
Yeah, they were texting on the stand at one point. I'm like, oh dear God.
yeah, no.
Do not take your eyes off your children because they will not survive with these kids. How was your week?
What is happening? Where am I? That's how I feel.
What day of the week is it?
My parents come today. So that's kind of typically there's so much like I want to get done. One, I want to clean the house. Slight psychopath yesterday cleaning because we hired someone to clean the house on Saturday. And there's nothing like keeping a house clean with children. Like that's where I have like that's one of my things that I do let go because I don't like the person I become when I want my house to be clean, you know? And that was me yesterday. It was like, can somebody just listen to me and stop making a mess? Like literally yesterday morning, Nova and Levi played with juice on the ground, like played with juice. That's
What does that
disgusting.
consist
It's
of?
sticky. It's
What is playing with, like just splashing it?
I think they were pretending to be dogs, so they had it in little bowls. Then later I figured out I think they put it in the dog bowl. So I don't think my dogs drank water all day yesterday because I saw like those fruit flies above it, and I was like, oh my God. Like I finally put it together. Like I knew they played with juice earlier in the morning. But then last night I was like, I got a mop again but that was the only reason. Like, you know, can we just not be kids? It is one of those things where it's like, it's not your issue.
Job.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you are a kid, but at the same time, it's like, we gotta have the awareness and gratitude of what's going on in our life that I do clean up everything. So when you make a mess, you're making more work for me.
Do you make them clean up ever?
See, that's where I should get on.
See, the girls, mind it, there's 2 versus 4, so I'm not, but like, I'm not putting your dish in the dishwasher anymore. Like, put your own dish in the dishwasher. I make them go to the room and clean the room, and I'm like, you're just not coming out until it's clean. Like, you know how to clean. And it's shoving, that's fine. I'm okay with shoving. But like, I should be able to see your floors. Deal with it.
I'm just like, that's where my control freakness comes in of like,
you want it done
you're
right.
not going to do it right, so I'm going to do it. How are they ever going to learn if I don't have them do it?
Well, I do have to go behind their dishes in the dishwasher because
totally.
they'll throw a glass plate on top.
Yeah. No, but I should
Just
make
dumb.
them do the first step and then come in and fix it. All right. On my goals list.
To-do list.
Action plan.
Honestly, it's like I realize like I am doing this. I will go behind, and I do it almost low key sneaky because after Kalia and Beckham are done cleaning their room, I'll be like, okay, go watch a movie, and then I literally go back through, and I'm like, why is there a paper plate under your bed? All right, but like they stayed in there for 2 hours until everything was at least shoved somewhere. Like,
yeah.
We're working on the next steps of doing it right, but like,
no, totally. And it's like oftentimes when I want my house clean, it's for a reason. And so I do want it actually clean, not just like fake clean. But kids, you know.
Yeah. Well, your house is clean-ish.
Yes, it is clean. They're not here. Life is good.
Oh, it's great. It's actually great.
But it's funny. Anytime, like, I will stress myself out before any guest comes. And then once the guest comes, I'm like obviously I'm going to clean up after myself.
No, you let all the wheels come off.
But it's like, no, I'm not trying to be a crazy person while My
Yep.
friends and family are here.
Yep.
And it's also like I'll pick up, but it's different. It's
Or like
I'm
pile on the dinner table.
just relax. Everybody relax. But my parents do tend to help, so that's always nice too.
Yeah, I love them. Barb and Rich, shout out to you if you're still listening.
Yeah, and then we get to have a little quick. We're going to Henry's uncle's wedding in Southern California, so we get like a solo couples trip. It's like Friday to Sunday, but I am so excited because I don't think we've done that since our honeymoon.
Yeah.
Like actually, like the only other
That's
thing I've
almost
done is
10
like,
years.
yeah. What is it? 8 this year?
8.
2020. Yeah.
You got married the year before us, so.
8 years.
Is that 8? Have I been married? Don't ask me how many years we've been married. I mess it up every single time.
No,
Every
but you
time.
got married January 2019.
Sure.
Yeah.
January.
It was January.
12th.
Jax was born.
Kalia was 1.
He was born in 18.
So 8,
January
19.
2019.
But
So
that's, I
this
have to
is-
do that
you
every
just did
single
6,
time.
right?
Sure.
You just
I do it every time. People, and you know when they always say like, ask a man how many years you've been married, and like I'm the one. Lex will look at me every time and be like, seriously, and I'm like, I promise, my brain doesn't do
Dude,
it.
we're in this forever. Who cares?
Yeah, lifetime, baby. How long have we been married? Forever. It's not a competition. Well, that's great. Well, I'm excited for you. You're gonna actually get
Thanks.
some alone time. You're not gonna have kids in your bed, which will be a miracle.
Oh yeah, that's how I felt last night. I was like, can I just? It's like, you know, when you stress yourself out all day. Of like, I started my day at 5 a.m. yesterday and didn't lay down till like 10 p.m. And I was just like exhausted, and
Yeah.
all my kids were sleeping in my bed already, and I was like, I just want my bed.
Do you ever just go to your spare room? Oh, you guys have a spare room, right?
Yes,
Why
not really.
No,
Like
Henry
I
will,
I
though.
will lay down. Yeah, Henry will. I'm like, I love my bed. There's just something, you know, it's my bed. So, and I love sleeping with my kids. It's just there's times where you're like,
You're
I
such a good
just
mom. Such a good mom. I'm like, get out.
that's how I felt last night.
Nope. Move them.
I should have. No, but
Yeah.
then I have to deal with like Nova will cry. She
Oh.
like I always I'm like, you don't have like if she falls asleep on the couch. Sometimes she'll just walk to our room, but sometimes she'll like wake up and cry, and I'm like, we don't have to do that. Even this morning, she woke up, and I was like, I opened the door to my bathroom, and I was like, we don't have to wake up like that. Like, nothing.
We're not
has-
doing this.
We just opened our eyes. It's a great day.
Joy. That's hilarious. Choose your joy.
So-
We had that conversation with Beckham where, no, it was Kalia. She was just choosing to be PO'd, just like choosing anger. And I was like, no, it was anger and sadness. So she was just choosing the wrong emotions all day. And finally, and this was honestly after she was tired, she was swimming in the pool. So I obviously understood that. But at this point, I literally looked at her and was like, you are making an active decision to still be mad. Get over it. Like, we've all moved on. I'm not even mad at you. Like, no one's upset anymore. You're choosing to sit in this like anger and just frustrate. Like, get over it. Move on. And she was just like couldn't compute. I'm like, snap out of it. Like, and I literally was like, knock, knock, get over it. And she was like, and I was like, all right, get away from me. I don't want you near me at this point.
It's contagious.
Yeah. Now I'm annoyed.
Totally.
That's
All
funny.
right, let's get into the topic.
Okay.
Hard left. What are we talking about today?
Okay. So we're talking about femininity, and not to be mistaken with feminism. Femininity. I needed to preface that. Honestly, Katrina reached out to me and was like, I think this needs to be the topic. And it was funny because I'm like, yeah, because I was going to have the topic be, what on earth did I just watch? Because let's preface, I don't watch any reality TV. But when you throw Mormons in it, I might just indulge.
a little curious.
I was like, oh. So there was
No, did you watch season 1?
Yes, I did. And I thought, honestly, the whole time I was just like, this is just odd. But I also am a horrible reality TV watcher. So I was like, you guys are insane. So I watched season 1, but season 2, they're monsters. And one of the things I'm so grateful, Katrina brought up femininity, and I was like, that is perfect, because that was one of the things that irked me about the show. There were so many moments that I'm like, what are we doing? This is not this women empowerment movement that you're making it out to be. You guys are belittling each other. You're belittling your husband. Just the whole thing was a hot mess express. But one of the hot keys for me was like the femininity piece, where I was like, you're doing it wrong.
That's where we're at. So the reason I actually wanted to talk about this topic was because I think that femininity is different when you are talking about it rooted in the Bible versus our interpretation culturally, societally, and all those sorts of things. So we are going to start back at the beginning in Genesis, where God makes us in his image. And if you're familiar with the story, which I hope you are, if you're not, he first creates Adam. And then he literally says that man cannot be alone. So then God creates Eve, and he literally says, I will make a helper suitable for him. Mm-hmm. And I think present day, culturally, when you hear the word helper, you're automatically thinking like you have main character energy and then the support, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if that's the case, the man is the main guy and the woman's just here to help.
The Batman, the Robin, the helper. She cleans the house for me.
Yes. But really, if you dissect the words and the way this was written in Hebrew, helper in Hebrew, call a friend, is.
That's actually funny. So the word, it actually is a year. I don't know how to pronounce it.
E-R.
Yes. But it's Hebrew, and I can't speak English half the time. So there's that. But root of the word means to rescue, to save, or to strengthen. So it just sometimes we forget the context of which stuff was written.
Well, and even that word, the Hebrew word for helper, is often how they would describe God. So it's like we can't view this word in the context helper as a negative thing or a less than. I mean, if it's referencing God, think that serves a mighty purpose. So I think that's really important, just to understand the language and what was meant by it, and not our own interpretation anytime when reading the Bible, but especially when talking about man and woman, because this is just the first, but there's a couple instances in the Bible where if you don't fully understand, or even like the telephone game, I think there are scriptures that then become popularized and then become something else, and you're like, no. That's not what the scripture said, first of all. And secondly, that's not what was meant by it. So that was the first place I wanted to go, because we are created in God's image equally, man and woman, first and foremost. Like that is what God said. That is what he did. But we do have different roles in life. Like a man is a man because he has so many characteristics about him, and he doesn't have that femininity and the softness and the gentle and the nurture naturally that women have. Not saying that you can't have both. No, it's just naturally that's how we were designed to be together as a team.
Yeah.
So with that, it's also then it just makes me think of marriage, right? Because I think it's a hot topic or hot buzz thing to say, to submit to your husband, right?
Yeah.
And people will take that phrase and then turn it into something else, turn it into like, that's when it comes to the real, I think, inferiority or like less than.
Yeah.
Do whatever, like, you're married to a dictator and he's controlling your whole life. And
they make it abusive. They make submission abusive. And so this is where watching the show last night, literally over, and this is why it scares me when stuff like this is on mainstream television and people are rah-rahing about the fact that a woman, like there are some parts that you're like, okay, let me give you context. In this show, there's a whole Chippendales scene where the girls decided to make a joke and like have their husbands do a Chippendale dance on one of the women. Now, the woman is married to a very, I don't want to say masculine because he's not overly masculine, but he's very, very traditional. And he is like, whoa, I don't want anyone else dancing on my wife. I don't want to see that. I don't want that to be public perception. I didn't like it. And honestly, my husband sitting next to me watching this, he was like, oh, I might be saved, but I'm not soft. I'm fighting. Like I'm throwing hands if someone is grinding and rubbing your groin all over my wife. Like my husband's like, oh, like we're not even going outside. We're fighting in your living room. But because he was like, I'm not down with this. Like, I don't like this. They all perceived that as being an uptight, prude, controlling husband. No, a husband had a boundary. And if the woman has the boundary in this show, everyone's like, she set a boundary. You respect it because like she's a women empowerment. But in the act of women empowerment, they are absolutely demasculating and disrespecting a man. And I am under like, it just flabbergasted me. The whole all over the show, the whole episode. One of the girls wants to go skinny dipping, but she respectfully lets her husband know, hey, I'm about to go skinny dipping. And he's like, no, there's cameramen there. There's producers there. Like, I don't like it. And the other girls were bagging on her because she honored and respected her husband. And so submission isn't about like cowering down. It's about, I love you so much that when you don't like something, I am going to let my will go because I honor you and respect you. Has nothing to do with fearing you. Has nothing to do with being
You
controlled.
don't let me.
Yeah. I sure.
No, yeah.
You don't let me? Okay, like perfect. My husband doesn't let me skinny dip. No, I don't have the desire to skinny dip anymore because my husband said it wouldn't make him happy. Mm-hmm. That's marriage. I'm sorry, but none of you women deserve to be married if you can't respect the head of your household. Because let's not get it twisted. Biblically, there is a head of the household. There is a priest of the household, the covering of the household, and that is the man biblically. That's just how it goes. We are designed for that. But also there's a crazy responsibility with being that. I don't want to be a man because I don't want the responsibility that my husband has over our household. Yeah. I'm sorry, I get to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, are you kidding me? All these, like, it just flabbergasts me. The whole, it all just frankly irritates me.
Well, and like even to go down that train of thought of submission, right? Like God calls us to submit to one another first and foremost. It's a mutual submission of, because our husbands, it doesn't mean that, yes, we don't get the Chippendales dancer in front of us. No. They don't get the...
Yeah, they don't get to go to a strip club either. It's
or
a
whatever
both and. You're
those
so right.
things are. It's like, you want a relationship that you, and I like the words that you use, respect and honor, because that's what it is. It's not about being less than somebody else or having someone control you. It's a mutual love and respect and honor that you have for one another, that you want to obey what they say, and not even like, oh, because again, these words
obey almost looks like a
mess.
people. Yes, we think of like a dog, like obey your like owner. No,
but it's like, if that is important to you and that would create a more like, I respect you so much that I value your opinion. And that's where it's
even
like,
if I don't get it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like both of us, at least, we're in a godly marriage. And so we know that if our partners are asking something of us or asking us not to do something, it is rooted in the Bible,
in love, like, and faith in Jesus.
And the love of, yes.
So I love that you definitely included the fact that you are submitting to each other, because I think in society, and the show shows this, like this is the reason this show, I almost feel like I'm watching this because this is showing what not to do in the world.
It's a societal experiment.
Yeah, it literally is. And I'm
always just so curious by people.
Yeah.
and like psyches, and like, why would you do that?
Now, the interesting thing is I saw in the world, you see it, and in the show you see it, is it's the patriarchy. Like we're going away from the patriarchy, and you need to let me do what I want to do. But then when he's like, no, I don't love that. He has to respect what she wants to do, but she won't ever respect what he wants. It's one-sided. And I'm like, man, that's to me where feminists lost it, because there is something so beautiful in that mutual sacrificial love. I sacrifice for you, you sacrifice for me. And at the end of the day, that shows love. I'm willing to lay down my will for you. And so it's sad seeing nowadays where a woman thinks that their opinion and what they believe and what they want to do trumps what a man wants to do, because they're not going to be controlled, and F the patriarchy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you lost it. You lost
Yeah,
it.
well, and that's like when the pendulum swings.
Yes.
Right? Because it's like, and talking about this specific group of women, you are talking a lot about religion, right? We talked about this earlier. Like a lot of, and they talk about it on the show, it's like there's so much tradition and culture wrapped up in the religion that they follow. And they don't talk much about their relationship with God, right? I think that's where I always talk about like religion versus relationship, because you can have a relationship with God and a religion, if you know, but it's like when the religion trumps the love of God, that's where things get messy. And so I'm sure some of them were or have seen unhealthy examples of what it looks like to submit to your husband. Those things exist too, you know? And there are those things that when people use the word of God to control others, you know, I don't agree with that either. But the mutual submission and love and honor and respect for one another, that's where things blossom, you know? And it also,
that's interesting. No, I didn't. It didn't even dawn on me, because I do have friends growing up in the LDS community. So now that you say that, I'm like, wow, I could see when somebody's frustrated because what they saw when they grow up, they're going to do the exact opposite. But it's kind of like when a kid grows up in that strict household, and then when they have their kids, they don't parent at all. Like it is exactly the same concept. And so it didn't dawn on me that this is all stemming from brokenness.
And there's still brokenness within religion, and there's still brokenness within, like, we are in a broken world, right?
Yeah.
So I just think that all of that is interesting, and I can, that we were talking before too, it's like I can follow the train of thought. It doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it, but I can see why someone would do that, or why someone would think that, or why someone would disagree, or those sorts of things. But along with that too, even speaking of like in the show, it shows like they're strong women. Obviously, they have become extremely successful off social media, those sorts of things. A lot of them talk about being breadwinners, which is good for them. Like, that's awesome. I
hope that someday we make enough money that our husbands don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I don't even even saying that. This is where biologically it frustrates me, because men are built. This is why you have a Levi that's built like a freaking brick truck that's running through. He'll scrape his knee. You're buying the Costco size Band-Aids, because he is created in your womb to be a hunter and a protector. This is what, like, they are physiologically built different. This is why boys will tackle the girls, and Kalia's crying about it playing with dolls. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just, there's a physiological difference. And so even if we do make millions of dollars someday, which I have no idea how we would do that, but like, I still think there is, like, psychologically, that would not be good for my husband to sit at home. And to, like, that would not be good for his masculinity. That would not be good for not even ego, but just like spiritually. When you are built and created by the Lord to provide and protect and lead, and having to take the back seat, like, I just don't think that that's good for a man. Am I
But
wrong?
I think that this example is also what I I don't know if I'm saying I disagree with you or what I'm trying
Yeah.
to get at is just like the this or that, right? Because I think under the conversation of saying like they're the breadwinner, then oftentimes then it's like I'm the priority, right? Like, and I might be putting. Let's just use this as an example. I didn't watch the show thoroughly
Yeah.
to know that this is what they meant.
Yeah,
but I think
no.
sometimes when a woman is the breadwinner or when she's strong and independent, don't need no man, then it's like she wears the pants in the relationship and the man is weaker or, you know, kind of more of that helper
Submissive.
role. Yes. But I believe that we can be strong, independent women and still honor our husbands. Like, that does not mean weak, less than, subordinate, like,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean? And yes, our roles are different. So I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I can still be strong, independent. I believe I can still pursue things that are good.
Yeah.
And he will still support me. That's why I always talk about, like, I'm a big person on marriage as a team. In our home, yes, there are certain things that we've agreed upon that I do X, he does Y.
Yeah.
You know,
Blue
all
job,
those sorts
pink
of
jobs.
things. Yeah, like, and maybe it does fall in the more traditional sense. I do stay home, but like, I do also have a job where I make money and like, he supports me in that. It's not ever this setting of, no, I'm the breadwinner, you can't pursue that. And that's just
I
one
guess
example.
I'm
I think
just
the
wondering-
breadwinner example isn't necessarily the best one, but I'm
Yeah.
just thinking in the sense of just because, like, yes, we are women and we're designed to be feminine and have grace and nurture and love, but that doesn't mean weak.
Yes. So I guess my question though, and this is where like I would like clarification. What is your definition of independent? Because I think that's where
Yeah.
the ambiguity comes in, is it depends on how someone views independent. I don't think I am a strong, independent woman. I don't. I'm so dependent on my husband and I love that. That's
Yes.
what God made us to be too. Like they made the husband because he couldn't be without a wife. They made a wife to be the helper. And so I don't like, I guess it depends. Like independent, will I go to the grocery store by myself? Sure. Can I move a dresser by myself? And do I do it often? And even though my husband might not like it, yes. Like, but I don't think I'm independent. I don't. I even think you're not independent.
No, and I think that like I am following what you're saying.
Maybe the world has hijacked the word independent.
The world's hijacked a lot of different words. Yeah.
No,
and
because I'm like, I don't want to be this strong. Like, I was singing INDE, like I was singing the song to
I
Lex,
that all the time.
and he was like, "Come again? Really?" And I was like, "Maybe I'm not, but like, I like to think I am." Like, I don't know. I think independence and strong are mutually exclusive. You know?
Well, yes. I mean, you can be independent and weak.
Oh, fair.
No, I think, I don't know. I guess where I'm coming from is just the sense of being like your own person. And now I think we are talking about two different things in a sense.
Yeah.
So I do agree with you. Like, I need my husband. Like, we
Yeah.
are a team. I'm able to do what I do because he does what he does. Like, he's
Yeah.
at work all the time. He's not home a lot because he's providing for our family.
Yeah.
But I am not staying at home making cakes. Like, you know, I don't know. I'm just not I guess your typical stay-at-home mom. I'm
You
like,
mean
let's
sourdough?
go. Not yet.
Not my sourdough proofing in the kitchen right now.
But I think it's like one of those things, and maybe this isn't biblical, so you can argue with me here. But like, I want us to be like two full people that choose each other. right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously our lives are intertwined and there is a dependence. Like, I think it is natural to become
Yes.
codependent on anyone you're around long enough. Like, and your partner, that's why it's important to choose wisely.
Yeah.
But also, there is an element of independence. And maybe I view independence differently because I'm literally by myself
Yeah.
a good amount of time. That like he's just physically not here doesn't mean he doesn't emotionally, mentally, spiritually support me when he's not physically here. But that's my
No,
definition
I
of
get it.
balance.
No, I understand where you're coming from. And I
Where it's
do
like-
think if you're both chasing after God, running after the Lord, and meet each other at the finish line, i.e., not at the finish line, like you're not dying, but like meet each other there when you're both fully chasing after the Lord. That's how you build a strong relationship. I do think there needs to be two strong humans that come together, and you have to be strong individually in order to be strong as a couple. You have to be evenly yoked. So I see where I guess maybe I'm hearing
I
it
think
differently.
Now I'm going to start using words that I don't even know the definition to. I'm going to say semantics, or not even semantics,
No, it's
but like just your,
semantics.
and it's like your word association.
Yes.
I mean, that's where language is so important when you say things, because you could understand the word differently.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's also in what context. Like I'm independent at home when I'm homeschooling these children. I'm doing it by myself. My husband does not do homeschool with them at all. That would be a train wreck. So in that aspect, I'm very independent. I can handle it. But like as a whole, I am very dependent on my husband. And I think that's why we are, I guess this brings up maybe why independent really bothers me is because I've seen recently a lot of women saying, don't ever give up your financial dependence. I've seen it like there's a woman who was preaching this on social media. And I was like, wait, what? If you give up you want to have a cash backup plan? I don't want a backup plan for anything. Because when I'm in this, I'm in this. Like, choose who you marry better.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Maybe
No,
that's
totally.
where
I
when I
think
see dependence, I get annoyed.
No, totally.
We're,
And
we're saying
I,
totally different things. I think we're having different conversations.
No, I think in my mind too, it wasn't even like the independent. It's more of that like strength, right? I think that you can honor, respect your husband and still be a strong woman and
Yes.
still, like you're saying, evenly yoked. Like you are a team at the end of the day. There are checks and balances in a relationship.
Yeah.
And just as much as like we said in the beginning, your husband is going to say something like, I would appreciate if you didn't do this, or could you start doing this? It would really help and support me or our family. Vice versa.
Yeah.
I feel like I should be able to go to my husband and voice those things too.
Yeah.
So I think that's
You
where
can
the more
challenge.
the core of that
Yes.
was meant.
Because I think when they say you're a first responder, the actual root of the word helper is rescue, save, strengthen. I think part of strengthening is challenging. You can't go, and this brings me to college. When I was in the weight room, I couldn't expect to get better unless I was challenged by the weight that I was carrying. And so I think as a woman, it is my job to challenge my husband. And so there are times where, this is a great example. Alexis, he has very addictive personality. Like if he finds something and latches onto it, that is that. And so one of the things that we've consistently, I don't want to say struggled, but like it's been an ongoing thing for 10 years is when he starts to play, this is terrible. I don't want to talk bad about my husband because people are gonna be like, is he a child? He will get, like if he downloads a video game on his phone, he will play that video game all the time. He is like a locked on missile.
What game is it?
Any of them.
Any of them? I know. Henry
He used to play Clash of Clans. So
I don't know why he plays right now, but there are times where he'll be playing something. I'm like, are we doing?
Yeah, and I'm like, our children are crying and you're playing Clash of Clans. No, it was Clash of Clans. There was also like an Avengers game that he was playing for a long time. Just any game. So then it was, he actually would take out the PS4 and like have that out. And so years ago, I literally looked at him and was like, this is not good for us. Like, you are staying up until like 2:30 in the morning because you're playing a video game. And that's not grown up behavior. Like, you're a grown man. Like, what are we doing? And so he even got challenged about 3 years ago by one of our friends because he did fantasy football. And when my husband is in something, he is in it. He is all or all. He is the definition of all or all. So he literally could tell you every single player, the number, the reception yards, the rushing yards, the interceptions, like, oh, he had a touchback, like everything. And he could tell you their great aunt's name. Like, he knew everything. And so one of our older friends challenged him and was like, hey, this is really juvenile. Like, you're in it far more than like the normal person is. And so I would bring it up and like he would put the PS4 away. Well, recently we went over to our friend's house and they have a movie room. When I say movie room, it's literally an actual movie theater. It's incredible. But awesome. They have this massive screen and they bring out Super Mario Brothers. And it was like my husband was like a kid in a candy store. And so his other friend is like, oh, I know how to set up a laptop. So you have every single game console, every single game accessible, everything. You just have to hook it up HDMI and get the remotes. So he did this for my husband, taught him how to do everything. It was amazing. Great. But now my husband is back on playing the games. And it's like really a lot. And so I, a couple of nights ago, was like, all right, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. Now he still is reading his Bible. He's leading Bible studies. He's got like 3 that he's doing right now. But the time that he used to invest in studying more, he's now playing video games. And now he's staying up until 2 again. He's drifting. And I literally was like, nope. I respect you too much to watch this happen again. You have never proven that you have the capacity to do that. Just like you can't put a tub of ice cream in front of me and expect me not to eat it. Like, we just don't put it in the house. Do you know what I mean? There are certain things. But as a wife, I wasn't disrespecting my husband by saying that. I was rescuing him. I was strengthening him. I was challenging him, saying, we're not doing this. I love you too much to watch this happen. And I'm still strong.
This obsession isn't going to serve you.
Or our home.
Yeah.
Like, yes. And so even when we're talking about like femininity, I'm still being feminine in my strength of saying, we're not doing this because you're the head of the household. You're leading us. If you drift, I drift. We're not doing this. I'm allowed to do that. And God supports that. And that's why I was created. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I have to just, oh, he's playing video games again. Dang it. I'll pray about it. Hell no. I'm going straight to you because that's what he sent me to do, is to be the red flag sirens that say, no, we're not doing this. Because think of all the things our husband could get into if they didn't have a wife to check them. And it doesn't mean check them in like you're a clown. Like I used to be terrible. I'd be like, you're a grown man. Put the game down. Be a man. That's not how I'm doing it anymore. But that's why I was still created. So I don't think it's it is a both and. You're right. Like, I am submissive and I still am strong.
Yes. And that is where like I can agree with feminism, or like that's where it's like in the sense of culturally and societally, there was a point in time where women weren't allowed to do certain things in the job world or in the, that sort of thing. And so it's like, also though, and this is probably where my thought process goes with the word independent. I think of, I want to be capable, but that doesn't mean I have to go do it. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, even the independence, that's where it's like, there's part of me that's like, I don't want to like have to need you. I want to want you.
But we've said this before, that thought process is so hurtful to our husbands. Henry has told you, I don't want to hear that. Like, that's not that doesn't serve us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this whole conversation when Henry was like, whoa, like, no, I don't want to think like, oh, you just want me, you don't need me. I think that this is where we don't need to fill that role. The Lord fills that role for us.
So I think where I'm at right now is I just keep getting stuck between, like, obviously we went down the marriage route of conversation and being feminine and strong and independent as a wife. But I'm also in my brain switching back and forth between being a strong wife and being a strong woman. Because under, like, being a wife and being strong, obviously all of that relates to supporting and being one with your husband and serving and all those things and that sort of submission, honor, respect. But also that's where, like, the independent or the strong also I think of as a woman versus man, just very general.
Yeah.
That has some differences too.
Yeah.
Because when we get so stuck in a marriage conversation, I think that there are, like, it's I don't know how to explain it. Like, there's just one way to go.
Yeah, it's more nuanced.
Yeah, or even like how you, like, you know, like there is this interdependence on each other, this codependence with your husband, but also just as a woman who's living this life, there's also so much strength, and those are the things that are different than being in your marriage. Like, obviously I'm always going to be married. That's not changing, but there's the strength within a relationship, and then there's the strength within going to a grocery store or being a mother or helping someone who's a friend.
Yeah.
And those sorts of things.
That's the sisterhood. There's an element of being in your femininity of, like, we support one another. Yeah, I could see that. There just are very different. It's just a whole different context. Okay, so to pivot out of, we know we are strong women and, like, outspoken, but also, like, submissive and all of that in a marriage. I know that there is you just mentioned, like, the nuances of a strong woman versus strong wife, and also good. But how do you balance being strong? And also, we are naturally supposed to be caretakers and soft. So how do you balance that?
I think that we're doing so much, like, defining language, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that soft and graceful and peaceful don't mean weak, right? I think you can be strong and have a sense of peace and, you know, like, the way you go about things. I think that it's more in the how, right? You can be strong, and even in, like, our beliefs, right? You can have strong beliefs. You can feel strength within yourself. But how are you going around explaining that, sharing that with other people? That is all done. I would, in my best self, want it to be in a graceful way, even when it comes to parenting. Even when you were explaining that situation with Lex where you're like, yeah, I don't come down on him. And it's like, what are you doing? You're not trying to insult him. No, it's like I'm looking at this and seeing, kind of having this discernment over a situation. And I want to share that with you, but I can still do that in a kind, soft way where I'm still strong in my conviction of what I believe, but I can explain this to you gently, softly. I can be kind about it. I can be feminine and nurturing in the way that I explain, versus sometimes I'll catch myself lately. I don't know, maybe it's too much caffeine, probably. Like, I'm noticing, like, my heart racing, stress, obviously, anxious, all these things. But when I'm around my kids and I feel that, I get really, like, concerned because I'm like, oh no, like, I'm in that fight or flight mode and I don't want to parent this way. Like, where it's like, it has nothing to do with them. I just feel my heart racing. So I feel my stress. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I guess it's talking about strength. Like, I could just burst out, but that's not going to be peaceful and graceful. Yeah. In the way I explain anything. Yeah. But it will be intense. It will be strong. I can promise you that. I just don't want to go that route.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I'm still working through is for a long time, I was a like people pleaser, keep the peace, don't cause any problems. And even some like my kids are not like that, which is good.
They are. That is so interesting because now that I look at it, I'm like, you are so right.
The exact like growing up, and my girls are shy. Like I do, but that's like a characteristic that a lot of kids go through. But like I was detrimental to my own self or like even those around me so much that I wouldn't speak my opinion or those sorts of things where my kids are sometimes I'm like, who wants to be easy right now? Like they're so opinionated. They're so comfortable expressing
Who wants to
themselves.
just go with the flow? Please?
Does anybody just want to like be the one
Say
that
yes?
says, okay, mom? That was, yesterday when I was rage cleaning.
Don't we miss when Levi couldn't talk?
Oh, God bless that child. He's kind of the worst, right? Because it's like it's a 3-year-old version of defiance.
Three-nager.
Yeah. So it's like, no. It's like, actually, no, you don't get to talk to me that way. Maybe you see your siblings, but not you.
Yeah.
But back to it. So I am learning how to express myself, like, or even just speak up in situations and have that strength, like show that strength, because I think I operated so long with that grace and peace, but it was grace and peace for other people and not necessarily like on a soul level. Does that make sense?
Grace and peace for comfort.
Yes.
Yes.
To make it a more comfortable setting for everyone versus having the strength within myself to say my thoughts or what I believe in and let that come out gracefully and peacefully. I think I used to believe it was if you had strong beliefs, then you're judging, you're condemning, you're coming out hot, where I believe you can have strong beliefs and present them in a graceful, soft way.
You know what this reminds me of? One of our friends at a gathering, we were talking about religion and relationship with Jesus. And one of them said that they believe that God is just love. So if there is anything that is in the universe that makes you happy is God. And I was like, whoa. And I felt like I did a decent enough job of not like, you're wrong because you're very wrong. Like that is not true. But I remember being like, oh yeah, see, we believe in different gods. I believe in a God of Israel who does stand on business, and you are going to have to face your sins someday, but he is loving and gentle and kind. But also there is the wrath of God simultaneously, and that's why I'm reverent before God. But we just believe in different gods, and we probably won't agree on this. And like backed up. But I remember you sitting wide-eyed in the conversation where you're like, where is this going to go? And I could see you. Now that you're even saying this, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Because if you've never seen it done in grace and compassion and like,
well, because
kindly,
I know you two separately. And so it was like, I know you have different beliefs.
Yes.
Like,
but if you also don't know that someone
I've had conversations with both of you and the strength, and it's like, and then you guys don't know each other as well. So that's why I was like, where is this going to go? Like,
yes. And but it also, there's an element where you're looking at it. If you viewed it in the past as any form of standing up for your beliefs is conflict and like, then I could see why the eyeballs were like, oh gosh, is this going to go? Because you see this world and there are people that are crazy offensive with their beliefs, but there is a way to stand up for it also.
Well, and I think by
being
default,
soft.
Like when you're passionate about something and you truly believe it, like that's where it's like, I definitely give grace to those who do come across intense sometimes, because it's like, there's so much, and that's where it's like, I think that's probably why I was nervous, because
Yeah.
I know you like
Yeah.
very well, and I know that you do stand on business for God.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was like, where is this going? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
which, and not saying that I didn't think you couldn't do it gracefully or
No,
anything
but
like
if
that,
you know
but
the
I just
conversations we
know-
have privately,
Yeah.
then I don't think you've ever seen me have a conversation with an unbeliever. Frankly, at
Yes.
that point in our relationship, we had never been surrounded by someone that just like wasn't a believer. And so I remember looking at you being like, dude, I'm not going to go off the handles. Like, sure, when we're talking, I will get fired up. I will, like, I think that that's the whole conversation of when you're talking to somebody that gets it, there is a higher level of accountability. We had this conversation yesterday of like, I was shocked when I was holding someone accountable for something. And I was like, oh, shoot, you aren't at the level I thought you were at. And I had to reel it back in really quick and be like, okay, you're just not where I thought you were. That sucks. But there's a different level of intensity that you're going to get if I know that you know, versus there's a different softness. That's where the gentleness of God comes in. That's where the love and the you get more grace. That God is going to give the newest believer far more grace than he gives somebody that knows better. Does that make sense? And maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe it's all the same, but there's just the levels of conviction that you get, all of that. But it's just more nuanced. But irregardless, I get where you're coming from on like there's a way to be gentle in also disagreement about your faith. And I feel like we don't see that. You see nowadays, everyone is so polarized that then you could be standing up for faith beliefs, but you're yelling in someone's face. And that's like, no, there is a softness to delivering that message. That's where the femininity comes in.
Yes. Well, and I think that that's where, like, I mean, I love being a woman. Like, it's so cool because you get to, and to me, and this is a cultural kind of not biblical, like, to me, feminine also is like pretty and like, and in a way of like flowers and lace and like
I love that.
girly
It's so
things.
true.
Like, that's
I
just
get
what
it.
I think of when I think of the word feminine. I'm thinking like dainty, baby pink, not hot pink. Like, no, just kidding.
No, but it's
Hot pink, I
get-
love hot pink, but it's
yeah,
just like there's certain
pastels and
things that
soft.
like come to your mind when
Silk.
you think of feminine. Yes,
Pearls.
and that feminine energy and all those things. But I also love that I'm thinking of like even like physical strength. Like, I also want to be able to wear those cute little things and then be a badass, you know? And it's like, I think of that in the biblical context of being soft and gentle and nurturing, but also being able to be a spiritual warrior for your family and your friends and knowing how to do that. Or even in the real world, not even in the spiritual world, of being able to stand up for those. Like, it's funny because I did think of, I think I did believe for a long time being a woman and being soft and easygoing was like not standing up for anything or not doing anything, I guess you could say. Just like, keep your mouth shut. But even recently, like, we have been supporting Mina with her, and like, she's been struggling academically, and I've been learning how to advocate for her. I've never had to advocate for anyone. I've never advocated for myself. Like, growing up, if I was struggling, tough luck. Do more. Like, it's the way I talk to myself.
Yes, and you didn't really struggle.
No, and I didn't. Yeah, I certainly didn't have the struggles that she's going through. So there's that piece. But also, any struggles I did have, I just internalized. So I didn't allow anyone to help me either.
Yeah.
Right. And so with her, like, I just realized, because when you first have kids, I feel like it is a popular phrase to hear, like, you have to advocate for your kids, whether you're talking about vaccinations, whether you're talking about in a school setting, maybe they're dealing with a bully or all these things. Like you are supposed to protect your child. And we've been having a lot of meetings for her and supporting her and figuring out the best way to go about it. And I realized, like, in the beginning, it's because I spoke up and said something to the teacher. Like, hey, I really want to figure out how we can help and support her and also get to the bottom of, is this something that is just she's struggling academically and it's just an adjustment phase, or is something inhibiting her from learning? Like, is she dyslexic? Is she something else? Like, I don't know. Let's figure these things out. Is she anxious in the classroom where she's just not paying attention? And having these meetings and being able to like stand up for her, is that strength? Obviously, I'm not persecuting anyone in the process. It has nothing to do with anyone doing less of a job or anything like that. It's more just being able to speak up. But that's a strength that I honestly didn't even ever practice. Like, this is the first time. And I was realizing like how healing that was for me to be able to help her. And that it's like when you get to be that person that you didn't have. Again, my parents are awesome. So
they just didn't
it's
even
not
know.
saying that. I just never said anything or like wanted anything to be done about it. Like, it would freak me out more if my parents ever went to a teacher.
And more often than not, like, what were they going to do? Fight the little monster in your head? Because like the battles were in your head. Like it wasn't that they could have done much.
Mm-hmm.
I fully get that. I also do think that like, that's a perfect example of being strong but soft. Strong doesn't always mean that there's this adversary you're coming against. It means you're doing a hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I go back to like working out. If you're getting strong, it doesn't mean that you are, it's back in the day where you were practicing fighting warriors with a sword. No, you're picking up a heavy weight and doing the hard thing, which makes you a strong mom, and that you are going to fight the battle your kid can't fight right now because she can't really advocate for herself. So that is a perfect example of strong and soft. Like, you were gentle. You didn't have to raise hell to get something done at the school. You did the job, and you did it with strength and grace.
Yeah, and it's coming, I mean, really the root of it is loving and caring for her so much that I want to figure out how to support her. And the strength, the hard part for me was having to say something.
Yeah.
Having to go to meetings with a teacher. You know, like, it's just something that was unfamiliar to me. And in the beginning, I was really anxious about it, just thinking like, what's going to come of this? Like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Just like all those sorts of stuff. And it's like, no, it's just
A thing.
And supporting her.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think of, you were saying warrior in the spirit, you said a couple minutes ago, where like you are going to take up your sword. You are going to spiritually fight for your families. And it reminds me of, in the Bible, Deborah. And Deborah, she wasn't like a queen. I think of other strong women in the Bible, and I think of like Queen Esther. She spoke out and had like a boldness and a gentleness. But I also think of Deborah, who in her own right, she had to go and lead the people. And like, I think even as we were talking about marriage earlier, there's a head of the household, and the women come second in the household, which even saying it feels icky, but you are one with your spouse. So like, there isn't really a second, but like your husband's covering you. So it's this whole dynamic that's almost confusing, where you're like, I don't want to feel like I am less than because I'm a woman. But I think Deborah gives so much hope. I'll read you just like I do all my stories. In the book of Judges, chapter 4-5, Israel was once again in chaos. The people had drifted. That's actually funny that they use that word. The people had drifted from God, and as a result, they were oppressed by a cruel Canaanite king named Jabin. His army commander, Sisera, led a terrifying force of 900 iron chariots, unstoppable by human standards. And in the middle of the unrest, God raised up a woman, Deborah. She wasn't a queen. She wasn't a warrior with sword. She was a prophetess, a woman who heard from God and delivered his truth. She was also called a judge, meaning that people came to her to settle disputes and seek wisdom. She sat under a palm tree known as the Palm of Deborah. We love our palm trees. And her leadership was respected by all of Israel. One day, God gave her a message for a man named Barak. Gather an army of 10,000 men and go fight Sisera. God will give you a victory. But Barak hesitated. He knew Deborah wasn't just speaking for God. She was speaking with him. He said, I'll go, but only if you come with me. And Deborah, full of courage and conviction, said yes, but warned him, fine, but the honor of the victory will go to a woman. The battle played out just as God has promised. Sisera's army was defeated. Sisera fled by foot and only to be killed by another bold woman, Jael, love her, who literally drove a tent peg through his skull. A woman killed the leader of this terrible army of the Canaanites, which I just think this is the strength. Like, this is the badass. He fell asleep. She takes the tent and just puts it through his head. Crazy. After the victory, Deborah and Barak sang a song together, a worshipful celebration of what God had done. It's the entire 5th chapter of Judges, and it shows Deborah as more than a commander. She was a poet, a worshiper, and a mother to her people. In Judges 5:7, it says, villagers in Israel would not fight. They held back until I, Deborah, arose, until I arose as a mother in Israel. And so she was a single woman that literally led the entire army. And she was like, all right, you want me to go with? But they're going to give glory to a woman right now. Obviously, all glory goes to God, but they're going to give credit to this woman. You've got to be okay with it. And Barak is like, all right, as long as I win, it doesn't matter. We're not going to die. We will give you all the credit from the Lord. But she is such an example of they call her the mother of Israel. She's gentle and maternal, but she's also strong and led, and the Lord gave her word and the Lord used her. And so I think she is my favorite example of the fact that in a marriage, this is the whole context of what Katrina was saying. And I'm so glad we kind of came full circle, but there is femininity alone, and then there's a whole different form of femininity when you're in a marriage, in a union. And so that doesn't, just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're not going to hear directly from God. You don't need a man to filter what you hear from God. Now, I don't hear that as we don't need no man. I don't want that to be the thought process, but God still uses you as a woman. God still speaks through you as a woman. You can still lead as a woman. And so I think that that's the stepping in the femininity of sometimes people now don't ask the Baptist church this because they have a totally different belief, but sometimes people can hear the word, a certain word delivered from the Lord better from a woman. It just is. A woman with trauma from a man very well could prefer a woman pastor. But yeah, it's just so interesting that
no, that's so good. And I think you explained it better, because I just think a lot of my thoughts aren't coming to words, where you're yeah, I have it in my head today. It's just feel like it's not.
No. And I'm so Deborah. Thank you, Deborah.
No, but
you're
also,
a strong woman.
You're so right with God uses women. I know there's a lot of stories in the Bible about men, and there were 12 disciples that were men, but there are so many important women. I mean, Jesus wouldn't have existed without Mary. You want to talk about strength and grace and sacrificial love.
There are so many examples of women. His whole ministry was funded by women. Literally, the men ate because these women were they were the strength. They were the backbone. They kept it afloat.
Also, with the story of Deborah, it just and all that she did, and how they describe she goes and then worships, sings, does all that after, which is a very, not that men can't sing, but it's a very feminine thing to sing, and all those sorts of things. And it's God made us to be multifaceted. We're not meant to just be I'm so anti-boxes. Like, we're not just supposed to be this one thing, cookie cutter trad wife. We are so much more, and we can be. And I think that there's so much beauty leaning into your femininity to be used by God.
Yeah.
You know, there are just certain things that men can't do that we can. And maybe this is definitely opinion. I feel like women hear more from God because we are calmer creatures typically. You know, like we do.
No, I'm just processing it. I think more often than not, women will have a gift of discernment. Like,
I just think that the discernment, yes, we also are nurturers by nature.
Yeah.
Right. So it is second nature for us to serve others and to serve, obviously, our husbands, our children, people. Like, it's just on it's our mode most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Where men can serve, absolutely. They can be generous. They can do all those things. But there is just, we were designed to be nurturers. So there's just something in us that, of course, we're the helper. Of course, we're the people that are supporting others or
I couldn't agree more, because I do think that there's that physiological component. Like I was talking about with men, how they are physiologically bred to be the hunters, the protectors, the strength. There is also the counter is that doesn't mean that they can't be gentle and soft, because scripture actually says, men, be gentle with your wife. Don't be harsh with your words. So we're all more than just one thing. Men are not just a protector and a provider. They are not only good for feeding us and paying our bills. No, if I don't have my husband to hold me when I'm crying and to be gentle and to be soft and to be protective in a compassionate kind of way, I'm a hot mess. Like, he has to be it all. Just like as a woman, there is a time and a place for me to stand on business and shut the laptop and say, we're not doing this anymore. You're not playing video games. Like, there's also the like, honey, I can see that this isn't serving you. Do you know what I mean? There's a both and. It is all like, we are such caretakers and gentle and soft and nurturers. And we are also strong and bold when someone comes up on our car acting like they want to touch our kids. Like, there is a both and. You have to be it all. And that's where God comes in. He will give you what you need to be in that moment. And that's where discernment comes in. That will tell me when I'm having that conversation with our friend, nope, it is not stand on business, Kaylee. It's be gentle. It's gentleness. And so even when I said the conversation I was having with someone else, where I was like holding a higher standard, holding accountability, because the perception was that they were much farther along in their walk than they actually are. So there's a level of accountability that gets held. I should have prayed. I should have asked the Lord, like, is she ready to hear all of this? Is she ready for me to say, like, you're doing it wrong? Because he probably would have been like, no, she's not ready for this. She's not actually where she's at in her walk that she's giving everyone. And so that's where God fulfills and tells you what version of you need to be. Because there are a million different versions of us that we have to show up on every day. We have to show up as women, as a mom, and be gentle to our kids and deliver the message in gentleness and kindness. But then there's also the version of a mom that when your kid goes to run out in the road, we have to lay down business of like, no, you don't run in the middle of the street. Absolutely not. And then you give a hug in gentleness 2 seconds later because you were scared as a mom. Then there's the version of when you're getting out of your car and someone walks up to your car with your kids right there. There's this like, I need to make myself big and the Lord's going to tell me, protect these babies. Don't let anyone get near them. But then there's also the version that when you come home, you are going to be, and your husband wants to have sex. It's like, now I'm the seductive version of me. Like we are all so many different like versions of ourselves. And I think when we step too much in one and not the others, and we get all stuck in those boxes, like you talk about, femininity is not just one thing, gentle and soft. Femininity is all of it because Christ made us that way. And so I think when we focus too much on like gentle and submissive, we forget that God didn't make Deborah only gentle and soft. She said, let me go to war with you. Let me send another woman to go bash in the skull of the leader of the Canaanites. Like, what? So it's not just one thing. It's all of it. And you have to give room for the Lord to tell you which one you need to be right now.
Totally. I mean, that was even like this morning I was taking Nova to school, and like I told you, she woke up and like, ah, and then like morning was smooth, like nothing crazy, but on the car ride over, just like the whining, like, and I was like, man, this has just been, it was like the moment we started getting dressed, that's when it kind of turned back on. She like was complaining and this and that, and she's in the back seat, and said something, and then I was like, man, like I could just feel she was battling something. Yeah. And so I like look in the rearview mirror, and I was like, because I was getting a little irritated, like that's when like the other day, very different situation, but when you told Kalia like move on,
get over it,
that was different because you guys probably already talked it through.
It didn't work,
but that's how no, I hadn't really like even talked much through with her yet, but that's how I felt. Like, get over it, stop crying, like. But I didn't even ask her yet. I was like, are you tired? And she was like, yeah, I'm really tired. I was like, okay. Aww. And then honestly, I just like prayed. I didn't even say anything after that because I could tell like something was bothering her. I don't know what it was. And maybe she was just tired, but they're surrounding like negativity for sure, where it's like, again, we just started our day, like nothing has happened. I haven't even got mad at you. But
I didn't even yell at you to put your shoes on.
I'm very calm.
I let you wear whatever today, dude.
And I just asked God, I said, God, like obviously cover her, protect her, bless her today, but also bless her from the inside out. Like penetrate her soul so that like she feels you. Yeah. Because anytime somebody is acting in a different accord, it's not godly. Yeah. So it's like, no, I want her to feel you in her because clearly she's listening to somebody else.
Yeah. And I was going to, no, you're right. Because it's all in this, like, I've realized that when I don't get enough rest, the enemy then can use my exhaustion because now I'm not on my toes to notice the attack because it's just,
you're not equipped.
Yes. It's just like, I don't think there's anything really wrong with alcohol itself, but I know that once that little guard is down, the enemy can come in and start lying to me and I can believe the lies. But then it becomes that little hater that we always talk about. And so it's the same concept with exhaustion. When you're tired, that little hater starts becoming really loud, and he's not so much a little hater, he's a big hater. And all of a sudden these beliefs, so like little Nova, her little hater, because she's so tired, is just being loud, and he's being negative, and he's being a little
and instantly no more. It was really one of those like, you know, when like it doesn't always happen like that, you know, totally, but when it does, I was like, wow. And it just is motivation to pray more. Yeah. And to cover. And I do think that is a gift.
It's discernment.
Get more.
I could totally see where like we're sitting in the car doing school drop off and can see the kids and the Lord's like, pray for them. Mm-hmm. We can see the meltdown. Whereas men, our husbands, do this general prayer of covering. And I even think like Lex prays, God, talk to my wife today. Show her what she needs to pray for. I know her gift is in prayer. God, give her discernment today because I'm not home to do it.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. I just think it's awesome. And we do get to do both. But I do have to check myself when I get in that doer mentality because I can get there too, where it's like I get in this mode of go, 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 got to get this done, my to-do list, my this, my that. And then I'm like, that's when at the end of the day, I'm like, I got everything done, but did I do what I was supposed to do today? Like, is this what, right? Like, did God?
I also think that's hard.
Listen.
I think that's hard for you specifically too, because you don't necessarily always get a break. because your husband travels so much. So there is that extra dose of discernment that you have to pray for God to slow you down, because you are doing both roles right now. That's again, not to say, Henry, it's just your life.
No, but like
that's
this
just the
time,
reality.
we can be honest about this time of year specifically. He's gone more than he's home. Like it's the recruiting season. So it's not even like, oh, he's working long hours in the office and at least I get that like touch point at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Even if the kids already went to bed, it's just like, nope.
Yeah.
But, and that's where I've also had to challenge myself in the past about like, you know, that masculine, feminine energy. It's like, sometimes I find myself when he's not physically here a lot, I will get put into that masculinity.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to be the masculine energy.
Yeah, that is tricky. Gosh, that's so interesting.
And I
but
think
God
I said
equipped
it before,
you for it.
But that's where I do check myself, because it's like, wait a second, I can do that. I'm capable, but I want to be feminine. I want to be soft. And I do believe I can be strong and soft.
Yeah.
And that's where like I want to figure that out.
You know what is interesting is I find my best parenting is done when I am strong and firm but soft. And I think that that's,
oh my gosh, they listen.
yeah, I think that that's because that's how we were created. And when we're trying to be something that we were not necessarily created to be, then it comes across as abusive. Does that make sense? Like, and maybe abusive is a very strong word, but like it almost comes across as like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? And this is why I think it's when I'm trying to be my husband and lay down the law like my husband would, they don't receive it. They receive it as unloving. Whereas when my husband is firm with them, they're like, yep.
And I think that's why by default men become the disciplinarians, because when you are in a marriage and a team, you do get the strong and soft by having both of you.
Yes.
Right? Like your husband's allowed to be strong and lay down the law because you're right there next to him, available to give the hug when the you know, obviously you stand by him and be like, no, daddy was right, but of course I'm going to hug you and love on you and nurture you.
You know what's so weird now that I think about it? When my dad left, so dad leaves when I am 15, and we never viewed my mom as disciplinary at all. And so I think that that's also the balance of my mom never was strong and disciplinary. Never. And so I think what you and I are saying is you have to be both. You can't just be one. You have to be both, because that's where I almost see like you have to be equipped to be able to be it if your husband isn't there. But you also then have to be the gentle too. Because what can go wrong is when my mom was only gentle, not only gentle, let's not give her that much credit. When my mom was only seen as like, that's mom, she cooks dinner, she goes to work, but like she's not really punishing us. Like my mom used to yell in the house, like, just wait till your dad gets home. Where I'm like, why don't you punish us? Like, why don't you put me in timeout? Why don't you spank me? Why don't you, like, she never, it was always wait till your dad gets home. And so we viewed my dad as this strong thing. But then when my dad left, then we're like, that's when we were having keggers at our house. I was doing keg stands in my backyard when my mom was asleep in her bedroom. She had no authority over us because she had never punished us. And so I think that there's this balancing act of like, I'm proud of even hearing you do both. Or like the way that I parent, I like to be both at times. Like I will be gentle and strong. You still are going to time out. Like we're not doing this. But then when dad's home, I get to lay down the strong. But I am both when dad's not here.
Because you have to be.
Yeah. But exactly, like my mom didn't realize that you have to be strong in your own right. Because then the wheels went off when he left.
Yeah, because for the longest time, it was like, wait till your dad gets home. But then
Daddy wasn't coming home. He left. He went to the grocery store and never came back. Just kidding. He didn't do that. I mean, he found a new wife. I love them.
New wife, new life.
actually, sure. Yes. But like, I love them all. It was a great weekend. We got to go hang out with the new wife, new life, and it was awesome. I love them.
You're now part of the new life.
Anyway.
Back to topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that we hit on so many good things. I know for a while my mind was glitching, but I think it finally kicked into gear at the end. So good luck editing that.
I love that. We'll be fine. I make it work.
Yeah,
I'm a professional.
Every time.
I'm 14 episodes in. We're fine. Is my microphone on? Who knows?
I mean, I know we've been worse. So, but yeah, back to just, I think it's important to embrace your femininity. Like, I just think there is so much strength in that. And God shows us in the Bible. I think that's where I always go back to. It's like, that is the truth. And especially with so many societal things these days, the buzzwords or the interpretations that are false of the Bible, like you just got to get in the word to be able to understand, because the more that you understand yourself, the more that you can be obedient to God and live in your purpose. Yeah. You know? So I think this was a good conversation. Hopefully it wasn't too all over the place. You know, I just know how my brain has been today. So I'm like, I think we tied it back in.
Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah. Got you. No, thank you, Deborah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's so funny. When you say go back to the Bible, that's my favorite thing, is that I kind of joked about like the Baptist church, how they don't believe that a woman should preach, or there's their own beliefs about it. And that's okay. You can have your own beliefs. Like, that's fine. But if you're someone where you have been under the belief that women are less than to God, just what Katrina said, like, I mean, go on ChatGPT and ask, give me examples of where women were used in the Bible. And it will give you so many examples. And I go to Naomi and Ruth, like, they were used, and Ruth got her Boaz, who was the greatest man ever. And you look at like Queen Esther, and God used her, and she spoke out in gentleness and grace and femininity and said like, no, we are not going to kill all the Jews. Like, not happening. And there's just countless examples of women and our strengths being just absolutely used, and the Lord capitalized on them, and the Lord used us. And I think you can look at it like it's a story, or you can look at it like, how could the Lord use me as a woman in my strength and in my meekness and in my gentleness and in my softness? Like, what does the Lord want to use in me today? I just want to be accessible to him, because the Bible is the same today, forever, and always. Sure, are we going to have to go up against a king and tell him, please don't kill all the Jews? No, probably not. Like, unless you're in politics, in which case, please do your thing. But irregardless,
on my behalf,
on the behalf of all of us women, do your thing. But it's like, it's just so freeing to know that he uses women.
Sorry, not to cut you off.
No.
Surprised that was probably the first time that happened today. But I think that is honestly what I meant in the beginning about like independence. Like, it's more freedom, I guess you could say. Like, it's not independent from anyone, or like, it's not being an independent person in my marriage even. It's more that independence of myself that doesn't have strongholds. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I know that might be a word that's not used very often in that conversation and context, but that's like, that is independence to me. I want to be free of anyone, and most importantly, the enemy telling me I can't do something. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So thank you.
It's independence and like fully dependent on God. It's so interesting, because
in the only way, the only way you find that independence is being fully dependent and submitted to God.
Yes, that's a word. I wish we would have said that 45 minutes ago. No, because
we're gonna have to add disclaimers to our episodes. Yeah. Honestly, if you're only gonna listen to a certain amount, you better go to hour 1.
Well, after edit, 45 minutes in is where it really gets the juice flowing. But no, it is so good to know that God has perfectly designed us and perfectly designed women to be multifaceted and perfectly designed men to be multifaceted. But there is this like first, this is how I show up as a woman, but that doesn't mean we all show up the same. It's just so cool. Like, I just love the way that God designed us. And so, yeah, what Katrina said, pick up the Bible. And if you're like, I am not reading the Bible, like, honest to goodness, I'm so serious when I say go to ChatGPT and ask, give me examples. And they'll give you an example and say, please break down the story of. So guys, when I read the story, like when I always on here when I'm like, it's a story, I've studied the Bible, but I also know that like reading scripture, sometimes people can get lost. Sometimes you're like, huh? And there is so many nuances and so many parts of the story that you can miss. So there are certain Bibles that do this as well, but I literally will ask, please give me this in story version so that I can understand it. And then I'll go back to the Bible and read it so that I can understand, because there can be certain scriptures that jump out to you where you're like, oh, that can apply to me in this life. But if you want to understand the story, ask for help from ChatGPT, because it will show you it in a story way and bring it to life like it is a novel. Then you can go into the Bible and read it and understand it for the scripture. And like, it just gives you more of like a revelation of it. So hopefully that is a nugget for y'all.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think our time here is coming to a close.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead and close us out in prayer, Trina.
Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for this podcast and being able to talk about topics that sometimes are hard to explain, hard to understand, hard to articulate even. Thank you for being on our side and helping us with our words today. We just pray over all of our listeners, us included, that as we go into this week, we can just embody who you made us to be. Our femininity, which is soft and graceful and full of peace, but still strong and capable and confident in you. So this week, we just pray that you can continue to cover us, bless us, and all of our families. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. That's a word. All right. We love you guys. Like, share, subscribe. Come back next week. Well, do we know what we're talking about? Absolutely not. But come back next week. And we look forward to seeing you. All right. Love y'all. Bye.